suggest y'all not to use a glass bangle, right? Because we all know how fragile it is, right? Just imagine if it falls from a small height itself, it breaks, right? So you don't want your artwork to, go into pieces after you're done, right? So for that reason, just avoid using glass bangles, okay? No matter how much securely you wrap it or anything, okay? It's not going to hold in shape, okay? So for that reason, just avoid glass bangles, okay? And over here, I've got a plastic bangle. Okay, so this is 100% plastic. Okay, so either you can use a plastic bangle or a steel bangle, okay, or even these steel rings that is specifically used for dream catchers. Okay, so today I'm just going to be showing it to you how to make it with this bangle. Okay, so I've got a bundle of wool. Okay, you can either use a wool or you can use this embroidery thread, right? Many of y'all will be familiar with these embroidery threads, right, that you get in the market. Yeah, so either you can go with this or you can go with wool itself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some wool out, okay, for us to feel comfortable and work with. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to roll this into a tiny bundle. Okay, so just between two of my fingers, I'm just going to make it into a small ball. Okay. Am I visible to the rest of y'all, or is anyone else facing the same issue?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you so much. I think the one who's having an issue with the video, I think just exit the class and join again. I think that might help though. So if you guys can see, I've taken approximately 3 arms length, okay? Don't take too much, not too less, okay? Because if you take too much, it's okay. Even if you have a little excess, it does no harm. Even if you have like it a little short also, it's fine, okay? So if you can see, I've just gotten it into a tiny bundle. Okay, so now before that, can I just know how many of y'all are making it with me today? Just drop a message in the chat box. No one's making it with me today. So is Pooja making it with me? Because okay, it's okay, it's okay. Even if you're out now, it's okay. No worry. Later when you make it, just I'll drop my Insta handle. Okay, you can just tag me when you post it anywhere. Okay. Oh, it's okay, mom. It's okay. So what about it? So no one's making with me today. Okay. Because the reason I'm asking that is so that I know what pace I have to go on and stuff. Right? Okay, guys. So now the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be attaching this bangle to the thread. Okay. So you can just make a knot. Okay. So here you go. So you guys can see we're done making a knot. Okay. Just make sure your knots are secure enough. Okay. They shouldn't become loose anytime. Right? Because after you're done, you don't want them to open up, right? So just make sure they're very tight enough. Okay. So now one more very important thing is, okay, always work towards your dominant hand. Okay, especially when you're handling with art and craft things, especially something like Dreamcatchers, work towards your dominant hand. Okay, so if you see, I'm a right-handed person, right? So I'm going to work towards my right hand. So that's clockwise. So I'm going to work clockwise on this Dreamcatcher. Okay, because that'll actually be way more easy for me to handle, right? Okay, so now if you can see, I'm not going to cut this thread off, right? We have this one loose corner. Yeah, I'm not going to cut it off. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it along with the bangle. You can see, right? I'm going to hold it along with the bangle and I'm going to wrap the bangle. Okay, so I've started wrapping, and so you can see we're just not going to cut that extra thread off, we're just wrapping it on it. Okay, so if you do things like this, they won't open up even later on. Like if it either gets loose or anything, you can trust your work, right? You can definitely trust your work and it won't open up, because when sometimes when you cut it too short, okay, they open up after some time, right? Be it not days, but it might take months, but that's still your artwork is going to go down, right? So you don't want that to happen, right? And also just imagine you have that finish where the thread is hanging out and you really don't get that clean finish towards the end. So there are actually pretty many reasons why you don't cut that thread out. So if you can see, I am working clockwise. Okay, now I want you all to notice, just see how tight my wrapping is. I'm literally digging it in with my nails and they don't open up, right? That's how tight you need your wrapping to be, right? You can see how unique, like even it is. There's no bumps or anything anywhere. So you need your wrapping to be this way. Okay, this is what you're working towards to achieve for the covering of the bangle. Okay. So now I hope you'll understood why I gotten into a small ball. You can see how comfortable I'm with handling it, right? And there'll also be, no knots or any other issues, any tangling of the threads and any mess, nothing. Okay. So you just have a clean start to it. Okay. And always when you're working with something like this, hold it with your non-dominant hand. Okay. If you notice, I use my left hand only to hold the ring and to hold the wool tight. And I do the wrapping part of the wool only with my right hand. I don't take hold of the bangle at all with my right hand, right? So don't worry, even if you're just beginning now, you'll take some time to get hold of these tips and tricks, okay? And one more thing, for those of you that's using a steel bangle and steel ring or any of it, okay, you'll know they actually do rust over time, right? Even a little exposure, be it a bangle also, even the ones that's painted and colored and all of that, they do rust over time, right? Even like, the paint do fall off, right? So when you cover them with wool, this is one way, just one way of how you can, reduce the speed of the rusting process, right? There are a few more ways, okay, but this is just one of it, one tiny step that you can take to avoid the rust, right? Because when this ring starts rusting, it spreads all over to the thread, okay, be it thread or wool or any material that you're using it to wrap. Even jute actually rusts, like it holds on to the rust, right? So any material that you use, they might rust, right? So you really want to avoid that. Just look at this. The bangle is not visible anywhere. Can you see that clean finish we are getting, right? It's like even, okay? There's no ups and downs anywhere, and you can't see the bangle anywhere, right? That's exactly what you need, okay? So I'm just going to wrap the rest of the bangle too. If any of you don't understand any part in the middle now, you can always just drop a message in the chat box, okay? I'll be very happy to explain it again, okay? And the wrapping the bangle or the ring part, that is the thing that actually takes quite some time, but that is what gives you the perfect look towards the end. Like, when you just look at the ring or the bangle itself, you can tell, was it made by a profession or was it just, someone just playing around or anything, right? So you need to master this wrapping the bangle part. Okay, it might sound very simple, but trust me, it also takes quite some effort. So we're almost there. And you necessarily don't have to use only wool or thread, right? You can always experiment with different mediums. Like, you can even go for ribbons. Okay, they do work well, but sometimes the issue with ribbons is, when you're doing the inner part of the web, right? Ribbons actually have a little slippery surface, right? So when you're doing the inner part of the web, sometimes, it slips out, so you don't get that perfect sitting, right? So that is one issue that you might face when you're using a ribbon. Okay, but otherwise, if you're experimenting and stuff, you can always try it out. Okay. So if you guys can see, we're almost done. We just got a little more to go. And make sure it's tight. Okay, you've got to make sure it's tight enough. Okay. And now as I'm going to be reaching towards the end, I've just got a few more wraps to do, and then I'm going to be making a knot. Okay, because I don't want it to become loose anyway, because if you're working in the middle somewhere and if it becomes loose, you'll have to start all over again. And trust me, all the hard work that you put in will just go for waste, right? You'll have to start your work all over again, and you don't want that to happen, right? So just make sure you hold it tight. Okay, you can see, there you go, we're done wrapping. Can you all see the finish we've gotten? Right? So I'm just going to make another knot. Okay. There are many knots that you can make. Okay. The one that I'm making right now is, the advantage is it won't be visible at all. Right? Okay. So now if you guys can see, we're done with wrapping the outer ring totally. Right? You can see there's nothing visible. Right? Okay, so someone asked me about the knot. Okay, so the first knot that I had used was just that basic shoelace knot that we make, right? There are a few knots which you can use where it won't be visible at all. Okay, don't worry. Like all of those knots, I'll be sharing it in the masterclass. Okay, like how you can do it without the knot being visible at all. Okay. So now if you guys can see, we've got a pencil and a paper. Okay, the reason for that is I'm just going to be explaining the inner part of the web. Like, when you just look at it, it's like, oh my God, it's just a basic star, right? So that's the first thing that actually comes to your mind, right? When you just look at it, the first thought that you get is, okay, it's just a basic star, right? But you all know that there are actually two types of stars, right? So one is a 5-pointer one, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And the other one is a 6-pointer one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? I think most of you will be aware with this, right, already. So for this one, what we'll be using is, we'll be using a 5-pointer one. Okay. So that starts and ends in the same place, right? So this is the dot. So I've just literally drawn the star, and it starts and ends in the same place, right? So this is the one we'll be using to make, because for this one, it's literally two triangles, right? So for that, you'll have to cut and join the thread again. You won't get the flow of it, right? So for that reason, we're going to do this star. This is very easy. Okay. So what we're going to do is, we are just literally going to trace the star on the ring. Okay, it's very easy. Okay, so like I told you, you start and end in the same place, right? So I'm just going to take the thread around the bangle. See, right now it's under the bangle for me, right? So when I start tracing the star, first round, and then I come over, right? So when I come over and then I take it to the back again, you can literally see we've just traced the star. That's all. You saw how simple it was, right? Yeah, I hope everyone's clear with this. No one's got any doubt with this, right? Is it clear for everyone? Okay. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll definitely go again. Okay, so yeah. So like I told you, it starts and ends in the same place, right? So this is where we are starting. And what I'm going to do is, I'm literally just going to trace this exact star around. This exact star. Okay, so this exact star, we'll just be tracing it on the ring itself, right? So we've got the ring over here. Okay, so I'm just going to go around the bangle. You can see we're just going to be tracing the star around, like you're literally just drawing the star on the bangle. That's all. You can see how we got the star. That's all. It's very easy, very simple. Okay, I hope now it was clear for everyone. right? So I'll just go again if at all, okay? So you can see we start and end in the same place, right? So I think this is not even enough. Wait. Just feel free to repeat it, okay, until you get the perfect one, like till where you're satisfied, okay? It's your artwork. You decide when you want to finish it, okay? So you can see now we've got a perfect star. So the thing is, the one thing that you have to keep in check is the spacing between each corner. Right, so you should make sure the spacing between these two is even between these two. It shouldn't be uneven, right? So when it's uneven, the star will be towards one side, or it'll kind of not look perfect, right? So over here we've got the star, okay? So now I'm just going to be making a knot, okay?
Oh, people, why everybody gone off the camera? Please, everybody come up on the cameras because it is an interactive session. And what if mom doesn't share her screen? Would you guys like it? No, na. So everybody come up on the cameras, guys. Everybody come up on the camera. Nabil, Ajit, Nupur, Sid, Dipali, Ankuri, Shreya. Everybody come up on the cameras, guys. Guys, it is an interactive session and it's not a YouTube session that you guys gonna just see the session and enjoy it. It's not like that. You need to interact, you need to be on the camera, you need to answer in the chat box, and everything includes an interactive session, right? Everybody come up on the cameras, guys. I want all of you to be on the cameras and then we will be then beginning up with the session. Or else we will be the stopping the session until and unless you guys won't be on the cameras. All right. What about others? Everybody, guys. Shikha, Nabila, Ajit, Sid, Mega, Uma. Guys, if you don't want me to just hold on to the session, please come up on the cameras. All right. So yes, yes, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. So guys, so if you all remember, the one I had shown you, it had 3 sets of feathers, right? Exactly like this one, 3 sets of feathers, right? So that's the exact same thing we'll be repeating with this one too, okay? So we're going to be adding 3 sets, right? So one's in this corner, okay? One I'm going to be doing it in the middle, okay? And another one on this corner. So you can see 1, 2, 3, right? So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm just gonna, you can see we've already the final thread that we had finished it off with, I've got a little thread left, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave a little thread, okay? And then I'm going to chop it off. I'm not measuring anything. There's no specific amount of spacing that you have to leave right now, okay? So we're done the first one, we've got some thread, right? So we now have to make 2 attachments, okay? One in the middle and one on the right corner, right? So I'm just gonna knot this up. And guys, make sure it's in the middle, okay? The spacing and everything should be even, right? And again, like I repeat, just make sure your knots are secure enough, okay? Because you don't want your artwork to open up after you're done or anything. Just imagine when you're done with the artwork and you're going to ship it out, okay? And then you face some issues. Just imagine the amount of pressure, right? And it's just a very basic knot. It's very simple. If you just do it straight the first time, you won't face any issues at all. Okay, so like I told you, I didn't measure this one either. I just took an approximate space and now I'm going to be attaching the thread for the last one. Okay, I hope it was clear for everyone till now. No one's got any doubts or anything, right? Okay, so I'm going to assume no one has any doubts. If you can see, I'm done attaching 3. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this one also off. Okay, and just to avoid any confusion, I'm cutting this out a little shorter. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so now we've got our 3 sets ready. Okay, so now the next thing what we'll be doing is, I hope they're straight enough and in the middle. Yeah. Okay, so now the next thing what we'll be doing is we'll be attaching the beads. So you can see I've got 3 pearl beads. Okay, so I'm going to be putting each bead in each thread, right? So I'm just going to be doing my first one. For this, you can use any kind of bead, okay, depending on the texture of the space and everything, but not specifically, not every kind of bead will suit making a dream catcher, okay? Just a second, guys. Yeah, so if you guys can see, I'm done putting the beads in for 2 of it, okay? So now for the last one. You can see literally how easy it is to put the beads in. And obviously some of us will face issues, okay? But don't worry, I'll be teaching all this, how you can get it done quite easily. It took me a matter of a few seconds, right? Yeah. So now as we're done with this, the next step is I'm going to take out some feathers. Okay. So we're just going to get some feathers ready to do this, okay? So just a second. Okay. So here you can see I've got a bunch of red feathers, right? Yeah, I'll definitely put the link in the chat box, don't worry. I'll just put it in after I'm done attaching the feathers, okay? So yeah, so you can see we've got some feathers ready, okay? So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sticking them to the Dreamcatcher. So now we're going to see how we attach them in specifically, okay? So for that, what I'll be using today is I'll be using some Fevicol, okay? You can see like this Fevicol. Okay, I use a big bottle because I use it very quite often. Okay, you can even pick a small bottle, whichever one's available to you. Okay, and I'm just going to take a tiny drop of it. Okay, so when I tell a drop, I mean it. Okay, just a drop. Oops, yeah, you can see literally I've taken very little, right? So now what we're going to do is, so I've got my feather over here, and all of you all know that the feather has this one tip, right? The other corner, which has a tiny stick looking figure. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to dip only that corner in some Fevicol. Okay. And now I'm going to be putting that into the bead. Okay. Very simple, very easy. Okay. So we're going to do the same method for all of them. Okay. So again, I'm taking some, dipping the corner in Fevicol, and see, this is the reason I told you you can't use every bead for making a dream catcher. And because some don't have enough spacing to attach the feathers in and all of that, right? So okay, I think 2 feathers is enough for this one. Okay, so I'm going to be adding the next feather for the middle one. You all saw how simple it is, right? Literally nothing complicated. Okay, like that's the method we're actually learning today. Okay, so there you go. We're done attaching the feathers for the middle one, and now for the final one. So I just gotten 2 feathers. So here you go. So if you guys can see, okay, I think this one's a little less fluffy, right? So I'm just going to add another feather in there. Okay. So you can actually make these tiny changes before they actually dry out. Okay. But once they dry out, just don't even think of making any changes because it's actually not possible. You'll have to cut them and start them again. Right. So, okay. So I'm just going to put a tiny weight on top of it for it to dry without any disturbance. Okay. Because these two have gone in perfectly. Okay. So now we're just going to let the Fevicol dry for just a few minutes, just a couple of minutes. Okay. So I just want to tell you all, the class isn't over yet. We've got some more steps, right? You can see we've got so much of thread outside, like, the extra thread that we had left over there and all this knotted extra thread and everything. We've got them, right? So I want you all to hold on.